what does Magento 2 mean to existing Magento clients or people that have considered Magento 1 and want to know what's new in version 2? So Magento 2 has been a long time in the making, and following all that time, what did it really turn out to be? Was it a complete rewrite, a series of various refactorings, a re-architecture, a critical review? It turns out it was a mixture of all of this. Even 9 years ago, when Magento 1 started, they actually got some things right, and they've played well and lasted well through those 9 years. So it hasn't been a complete rewrite. There's a lot of similarity between the product, between M1 and M2. But what there has been is a lot of learning. There's been a lot of skills brought into the business. The eBay acquisition meant the engineering team gained a wealth of knowledge and experience that could be brought to bear on what existed in Magento 1, both functionally and the various technologies that back the product. So there has basically just been a concerted effort at looking to the future of Magento and solving those problems, solving the business needs. However, it does mean there is a backwards compatibility break. It is a major product release. As much as it was just a refactoring, there is not a compatible path between M1 and M2 without your service partner or your agency helping you on that way. There's no automated upgrade. But there are some easy steps once the team are aware of the product, how to make that move. So the major changes are around the front end of Magento. There's a major refactoring there to more modern technologies, things that will be more familiar to non-Magento engineers. More modern techniques, more focus on the user, more focus on performance of the user interface, accessibility, more ease of development for multiple devices. The back-end architecture has changed. It's been more of a unification of some of the concepts and ideas, and introduction of some new things to improve the stability of the product, to improve the compatibility of integration, and to ensure that any modules developed don't actually cause problems through compatibility or cause problems with performance down the line. The architectural changes are one to introduce conformity, to introduce contracts between developers, so that if you adhere to the contract, you maintain compatibility and the upgrade path. One of the major pain points that many people and our clients felt was the upgrade cost. The upgraded cost of even minor versions was quite high. For a product like Magento, that wasn't really acceptable. So that's been one of the things that's been addressed quite significantly with M2. As long as everybody follows those service contracts that are enforced within the code, then the upgrade paths are much clearer, much cleaner, and actually you don't need to adopt all of the upgraded parts of the product. You can choose to adopt parts that matter to your business, that add value to your business, and leave the rest that would just incur cost without returning value on the table for later. There's a change to the technology stack. There's a lot more tech in there, which means the learning curve for Magento has got significantly steeper. So there'll be more tools and technologies that the teams will need to know. But again, if they're engineers and developers that are aware of non-Magento development, these things will look familiar. The whole industry has moved forward in those 9 years. Magento's just caught up somewhat. There are some new breaking technologies, but they're not too complex for the teams that you'll have been engaging with. So the types of skills that teams will need to acquire, again, it's more modern technology, so things like Require.js, CSS plus less, the more abstract concepts or theoretical concepts such as object orientation and aspect orientation, and some design patterns in there. These are the sorts of things that engineering teams will need awareness of, but they're there to breed stability within the product and to have a more common vocabulary within the engineering teams and between the product managers at Magento as well. New features. There aren't many. And when I first started putting this presentation together, I was a little concerned about that. And the marketing team have been asking me to put together content for our website about new features. There aren't many. But what's there is really solid features, really solid improvements to what was already quite a good product, and is addressing some of the main pain points of that product. So we have an improved admin and user experience that Paul's going to take us through shortly. So that's adding responsiveness to the admin screen, so you can now drive your store with a tablet or a mobile device. You're not tied to your desk. That modern development tooling that I mentioned, the service contracts to provide compatibility, and the main focus on performance and scalability. So as I've said, that's going to reduce the impact of upgrades. There's also a strict extension validation process, so module vendors have to be certified, and every module release must go through that certification process. So again, one of the major pain points of adopting something as flexible as Magento 1 was it was a very open ecosystem. Modules were developed for essentially the lowest common denominator. If you use those modules at the high end of enterprise, then quite often you felt pain and had to either engage with that vendor and use their support SLA, or use a service partner to help you resolve those problems. That greater compatibility breeds more opportunity for using use of existing solutions. So the major re-architecture in Magento means there is a wealth of open source code solutions available to you that you can use. The first step of your engineering team should no longer be to write code. It should be go and find the experts that have written the solution in code for that problem and use it in Magento. So there should be a great deal more reuse and more flexibility out of Magento 2, even though what we're describing is a more strict adherence to service contracts and interfaces. The main scalable opportunities come from a decoupling of the whole application. Magento 1 was a monolith application. You deployed it into a data center or multiple data centers, and it was one lump of software and an application. With Magento 2, you have the ability to break that apart into 4 clearly distinct components. You have your product management, your admin interface, where you're going to do all your merchandising. That will push data into the catalog component, which can sit on an entirely separate and distinct infrastructure, consuming its own resources and scaled effectively for your users' needs rather than your administrators' needs. Then you can have checkout sat on, again, distinct infrastructure designed for quick throughput, high concurrency, and transactional safety. And then finally, that will then synchronize with the order management solution. So you're not tied for all of those things to scale at the same time, to work effectively together. The user journey is supported and scaled effectively at the right times, so that if you have browsing needs and your conversion rate is different to the norm, you can scale that part of the application different to how you'll scale checkout. And you can respond to those needs of your user base and the way your users interact with the system. So what this architectural change enables is a significant uplift in the throughput capability of the platform. So M1, I'm not saying these were hard limits, but these were generic kind of peak numbers when benchmarked. Catalog views was about 500,000 per hour, and checkouts was about 42,000 per hour. M2 has significantly increased the catalog browsing capabilities, and then the checkout throughput has doubled. So the product roadmap that Richard alluded to, we do have some visibility. We're obviously very closely engaged with the team at Magento to try and gain some visibility. That's key for us to be able to support our clients to the best of our ability. But obviously the roadmap is a moving thing. The engineering team at Magento have some goals, We're aware of those goals. When these roadmap items will be available, we're hoping many of these will be Q1, Q2 next year. Some may push out later into the year, and obviously this is not a definitive list. There's going to be some further focus on scalability through some adoption of additional technology. For those of you that do have the technical interest, that would be Elasticsearch. So they'll be using that first of all to drive search, a key element to most e-commerce experiences, but eventually that will drive the catalog browsing experience. It's a more capable technology, it's a more suitable technology, so rather than having to scale your application to support browsing and search functionality, you're just scaling technology that's designed to do that and more capable. It'll also enable quicker product turnaround. So when you're merchandising new products, changing the catalog, using Elasticsearch means you hopefully will no longer have that dreaded requirement of clearing cache to see the changes in the catalog. That's the key focus, to be able to see product changes live in the platform. There's a significant focus on cloud compatibility. So yes, M2 is already capable of running on the cloud, but it's a complex process. You need some significant experience to do that. There's a focus on Magento 2 becoming a 12-factor app. 12-factor is a set of principles by which you can design an application that will then be cloud compatible to run on any cloud infrastructure with any cloud provider. There'll also be some announcements around the licensing model to support commodity computing and scaling for the M2 product. There will be close integration with the OMS and the EPOS system that Richard alluded to, but those products are available now. We'll just see closer integration. So do you need to upgrade? This is a conversation I expect to have with many of our clients. Vendor support for Magento 1 will continue for 3 years following M2's general availability, but as Richard also said earlier, that will be critical security updates. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to develop new features, but it will be at your cost rather than Magento's cost. And likewise, earlier than 1.12 will require direct investment with your service provider to backport security patches. They won't be released by Magento themselves. The existing skills, obviously, they're not going away. Session will still exist, we will still have our engineering team, and so will all the other service partners in the UK and Europe. But module vendors, as much as they'll have a support SLA, it's likely that module vendors are going to start focusing their effort on M2. You know, that's a new market for them. They're probably going to start phasing down, scaling down their support of Magento 1. And again, Magento cannot control their commitment to support security and critical updates to the module ecosystem on Magento 1. So I don't think that will go away overnight. It's just one of those things that over time will diminish. What would an upgrade offer? Obviously there's product enhancements, there's that roadmap that Magento were investing in. There's greater performance and stability, and that integration option, that reuse option, is a massive plus from my perspective as trying to deliver the best return on investment to our clients. But what do those performance numbers really play out to be? Well, if we took an average user journey, the new platform would be able to support 1 million unique users per hour, based on an average journey duration of being 4 pages. That's a significant level of support from the platform. Those would be interesting traffic numbers to be reporting. So would the revenue. The new platform with the new numbers they're reporting would be capable, with an average order size of £40, to generate gross revenue of £3.6 million an hour, which would be a very nice Cyber Monday, Black Friday holiday season. Can you reuse any of your existing system? Absolutely. The learning that's encapsulated in your existing platform is invaluable. It's better than any specification document you could ever hope to write. So that's not to be thrown away, that's not to be taken lightly. There is a a net worth of that product, and your service partner can help you extract that. The front-end theme will need heavy refactoring to make it compatible with all of the functionality of Magento 2. But that design work doesn't necessarily need to change. You don't need to reinvent your theme. It's just a re-implementation. Most of the module vendors, the major module vendors, are going to be porting their products to Magento 2. They have a financial vested interest in doing that. So it's about picking the key time to do that, or forcing your module vendors to do that for you, through financial incentive, obviously. But the ecosystem wants to move to the new product, and it will support you. Existing modules that are no longer supported, or bespoke modules, can be easily adapted with enough engineering experience, and actually you can protect yourselves from technical debt by refactoring the code to extract its dependency from Magento, which is something our teams have been advocating for the last 18 months to 2 years. Decoupling yourselves from Magento so that your code is more reusable, and the upgrade path and any change in the Magento product lifecycle doesn't affect your bespoke code quite in the same way. You're just wiring it back together. How much effort will the upgrade genuinely be? I hate to say it, but it definitely depends. There's no silver bullet. There's no number we can put to an upgrade. It depends how many modules are in play, how much bespoke development has been made. But what I would say is the Magento 2 upgrade is a real opportunity. It's a real opportunity to maximize the return on investment. Don't look at the Magento upgrade and think I have to have every feature that I had in Magento 1. Because some of those features were experiments. I'm confident some of those features were experiments. An attempt to drive new revenue, an attempt to increase conversion. So instead of striving for feature parity, strive for value parity. Try and extract the same amount of value out of Magento 2 as you had from Magento 1, and then move on. Because if you focus on the features, it will be an expensive process. But if you focus on what's valuable to you and to your customers, you can probably do the upgrade far quicker, you can get to market far quicker, and then you can have a very lean platform that's generating value and revenue for you. So thank you very much for your time. I'm very happy to take any questions if there's an element of Magento that I haven't covered, if there was a question or anything like that. Okay.